And welcome back to 42 and 42. I just finished watching Survivor Gabon, which, as I said yesterday, people are usually in two camps with this. It's either you enjoy it for the memes or you actually enjoy it. And I sat here in this chair yesterday and said, I fall more in the former category than the latter category. Well, I can sit here today and say, I actually really enjoyed a rewatch
Yes.
of Survivor Gabon. Yes, the issues that people have with it, we will get to. But I'm joined by Gherman. So before I get to all of this, um, your initial reaction to the season, and has it changed for you as the years progressed, or have you always been in the camp of this is a great season?
I have always been in the Gabon is amazing camp as one of my personal favorite seasons. If you were to rank it like in terms of like a critical level, yeah, you could criticize this season to death. But if you're looking for just pure reality TV trash entertainment meets Survivor, that is Gabon. And the other great thing is you go from the first 16 seasons, and this is such a visually striking season too. It's really, to
As
me,
good
the
as
best
HD.
looking that Survivor's ever gotten, the best tribal set, some of the best looking challenges that we've ever gotten. And now we just have all these Fiji, this thing, puzzle, physical part, puzzle. They really went all out there in creating unique challenges, fun challenges. I skip challenges in Modern Survivor a lot. I wouldn't skip a
Yeah.
single one here because they're entertaining. The cast is crazy people. It's recruits, but fun recruits. There's a lot of other seasons where it's bad recruits. This is different, like ages, body types, just a bunch of random people. It's the concept of like you pulled a bunch of people from the plane. This is probably those people.
Well, and as I was watching it, for some reason I had Cook Islands in my mind, where I feel like leading up to Cook Islands and Fiji, a lot of people complained about, oh yes, more representation, this, that, and the other. I feel like what they did with the Gabon is people complaining about, oh, there's no one that looks like me on TV. So, like you said, they just took a whole bunch of jamokes and just threw them on TV.
Yeah.
Didn't matter if they've ever watched Survivor or not, and just said, hey, these are the rules, and just kind of do whatever and just say whatever. And I feel like in a car crash type of way, it really worked. And
Yes.
we're gonna touch on a few of the things this season that, like, yes, this should suck, and like this compared to Nicaragua, yeah, leaps and bounds better. And it's basically the same season. A bunch of people that don't know what they're doing, maybe like two that do know what they're doing, they get voted off relatively early, and then we're left with Chase Rice and Fabio and the rest of the crew. And in this season, we're left with Susie and Sugar and the rest of that crew. So keep on going.
But even in comparison to Nicaragua doesn't have any flips that are as big as the Marcus boot. Nicaragua doesn't have as many like epic, like, whoa, why did you do that moments as
Yes.
Gabon. Gabon is a train wreck with much bigger highs than Nicaragua
Yeah,
has.
the pre-merge was so easy to get through today. Like I realized watching that I actually remember every pre-merge person from this cast, which is not the case with a lot of the seasons that I've been doing. I definitely don't remember everyone from I remember everyone from Tocantins. Samoa, it's gonna be very hard remembering those folks. But
Yeah.
I remember everyone from the pre-merge of this season, whether they were, the original Purple Kelly, or Jackie, who I feel like Jackie was one of the many people that you sit there like, why is she not still here? How do we still have Susie and Bob and Sugar and all these folks? And this is not going to turn into me bashing that final three as far as like them as players. The actual final three, final tribal is horrendous, but I feel like all three of them were able to do things and adjust on the fly that I feel like a lot of fans don't give them credit for. You constantly hear about Bob being, oh, this is the worst winner ever. It's like, you guys only say that because he played on Gabon, in which
Yeah.
you would call everyone the worst winner ever, unless it's Maddie, Marcus, or Charlie, maybe. So I feel like the three of them, along with a lot of the other merge characters, did what they had to do with limited knowledge on what Survivor is. Now that
No,
pre-merge,
absolutely.
we're going to start from the pre-merge. Thoughts on how they split up the tribe? Do you think that should have been male-female, or how do you think they split it up?
I actually really love schoolyard picks personally because it makes people show their thought processes right off the bat. It's an easy way to get to know somebody. The second that Crystal is like, I just want a mom over here, I'm picking Susie, you're just immediately like, okay, so she's not strategically thinking.
Yeah.
And you immediately get a good confessional from Charlie. This is just such a good way to expose people's thought processes right off the bat instead of waiting 3 episodes to get a strategic decision from anybody. So I love schoolyard picks. I love that the red tribe immediately off the bat was like, disaster pick, disaster pick. Oh, good, we've got Maddie. Disaster pick, disaster pick, disaster pick, disaster.
And Dan, I think it was his name Dan. I actually forgot his
Dan,
name.
yeah.
Yeah, they got Maddie and Dan. They thought they hit the jackpot with Crystal. Psych. GC is sprinting up the hill for the necklace and then can't perform any other time.
Right.
Michelle, who is probably the most athletic person, one of the most athletic people in the tribe, she just is hard to get along with. So you just have this car crash tribe from the beginning. And in my head, rewatching, I always remember Fong being just a car crash tribe from beginning to end. In reality, before the swap, they weren't that bad. They weren't oolong bad. They weren't, they weren't Rabu bad. It was Rabu and Fiji. Yeah. They weren't that bad. When that swap happened, somehow the wheels just very much fell off. And it's crazy because the only person that I feel like really mattered in that swap that left was Randy. Like Susie leaves with him, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Susie leaves with him, but
Susie, Randy, and Dan.
Yes, but I feel like Randy is, he's the one that's getting the most screen time, and so it comes off as more significant that he's gone than the other two,
right.
And for some reason, this tribe just can't do anything without Randy. And then on the other tribe, we have a lot of the big early merge characters that kind of just go away. And this is one of the things that I really want to talk about today is the fact that, people want to shit on Susie and Sugar when Susie, Sugar, Kenny, and Crystal, and, Maddie, they were in a situation where they should have been picked off at the merge. It should have been down the line, Susie and Six, they all go. And somehow they're able to pull it out and end up being 4 of the final 5, or all of the final 5. Yeah, all of the final 5. No, 4 of the final 5.
Oh, plus Bob, yeah.
Yeah. So I know the gameplay is not great, but are you in the camp of, these are just shit players that somehow luck their way into the end? Or do you think there were moments for all of them where you're like, okay, I get it. I get why they were able to maneuver around this situation?
I think it depends on the player, right? First, I think a big one you can discuss is Susie. Susie made obvious mistakes on one hand when she tells Corinne, I was actually thinking of voting for you tonight. Like, that was just such a... But then in the next episode...
It was definitely a move.
It was a move. Susie recognizes her position. She takes in the advice and she makes the move despite, promises that she's made. She understands, if I stand with this current configuration, I'm going to get 6th place. But I don't just want 6th place. I want to be in the top 3. And yes, she was a recruit, but she did everything, to set herself up for another round. And these people who look like they're supposed to be the smart strategic geniuses like Marcus, Corinne, they did zero effort in managing the bottom of their alliance. They basically lashed out at Susie at that tribal council about her comments to Corinne. When you're going into a merge situation, you keep that person with you. You keep them close.
You don't antagonize the person that could flip.
Yeah, and they set themselves up for that failure. And Kenny and Crystal actually performed very well at convincing Susie as well. They were a 1-2 punch. Did Maddie do anything strategic this season? Not really.
Not really, no. I feel like Maddie is very overrated in this season. Like I feel like everyone's like Maddie got robbed by getting taken out. It's like, yeah, Maddie or Bob are going to win the season, but it's not because Maddie was like this strategic mastermind. Because there are moments in the pre-merge this time around that I'm like, what the hell are you doing? One, voting out Jackie when you're sitting at tribal council saying, hey, let's keep the tribe strong, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, we're going to vote out Jackie. You don't want to vote out Michelle the first round. You vote out Michelle the first round. Yeah. There are just moments like this where it's like, I understand you have to go along with the crew, but I feel like this is the cast that you can potentially say, hey, let's do something different. And people don't chew your head off and just go after you instead.
No, and he basically kept things the same when disasters were happening all around him every single day. He was directly kind of, I would call him somewhat responsible for the disasters happening around it because he did nothing to stop it.
Yes. And he was, and amazingly enough, he's the only one that remained on that OG tribe from beginning to end. And yeah, I don't believe in Rob. Anyone that listens to this knows that I don't believe in Rob players. You win or you lose. Yeah. The end. Like I said, I feel like no matter what, Bob or Maddie were going to win. It would take a lot. The fact that Susie did come as close as she did, I feel like that is, one, a testament to OG tribes. But two, I do feel like of the three, she performed the best at Final Tribal, mainly because Sugar was just winning that, like, there's a lot of moments in the season where I'm like, I don't even feel like Sugar cares. Like, I don't feel like she cares about anything that's going on in this game. And then Bob, it's just the worst. I felt like if he had just lied about even certain things to give answers to these people, maybe he wins more than 4-3-0. A win is a win no matter what. But I do feel like he really shit the bed there. And if anyone was robbed in the situation, it's probably Susie, because she actually went in with a game plan, not only in the game, but at that Final Tribal. And I feel like she did the best. She answered the questions that she was able to answer accurately. But, Corinne was probably never going to vote for her. Randy was probably never going to vote for her. But I do feel like she could have potentially, I think Marcus and Charlie were the other two that voted for Bob.
Yeah. So in actuality, Randy was the swing vote here and didn't make up his mind until the final tribal council. And there is one particular YouTube channel that I will say did a ranking of all of the runners-up. And I disagree with this list immensely because they put Susie second to last of all of the runners-up in Survivor history. She was one vote away from winning.
Who was she in front of in that list? You can say whatever group.
I don't even remember off the top of my head. I think it might have been Shelly from Caramoan, but
Sherry. I'm like, who the hell?
Sherry. Yeah, sorry. Caramoan.
Caramoan, yeah.
But Susie was one vote away from winning. She executed things. She, in the first Fong setup, actually had an alliance with Randy, Dan, and Maddie. So she had an alliance in her first group. She was able to survive in her second group based on social skills over Dan, made the move at the merge, made enough social connections with the people that she flipped to that she got all of their jury votes. And basically, the only reason that she lost is Randy thought that Bob gave a better answer than she did. And Bob's answer sucked too.
Which is wild to me. Because at no moment during that final tribal did I feel like Bob, but no. You know what? There is one moment that I feel like Bob gave a nice, good answer. And that's when Corinne, says, oh yeah, say something bad. And he's like, yeah, I didn't like the fact that Sugar laughed at Randy when he got voted out, which, yes, that's not the meanest thing, but I don't feel like Bob's going to go in trying to lambaste Sugar. So I do feel like he answered that one well, I guess.
Fine enough, yeah.
Yeah.
I just think Susie's underrated. I'm not calling her a legend. I'm not calling her anything good, but people like to talk about Susie like she's one of these worst, like, how did she even get votes? She got votes because she was socially good and made right moves at the right time.
Yes. It's the Gabon effect. And that's what it is. It's the Gabon effect with everything that happens this season, where everyone has to look at it as worst winner, worst final three, all of this. It's like, yeah, within a bubble, yeah, this is inherently not good. But also within that same bubble, these people are still doing things. It's not like it was just a cakewalk to the end for the final three. It's not like these people just kind of did alphabetical order of who was getting voted out. These people were still out there doing what they needed to do to progress their games. The fact that there is, that merge boot that happened. Well, not even before that, the Marcus boot that leads into the Charlie boot. There are these moments where it shows that people are paying attention. Kenny is the underrated best player of the season. Underrated as far as like when people look at best players, they don't say Kenny's name. And I'm not saying he's like some all-time great, but I do feel like his game is very underrated in the season to a certain point.
I think that Crystal never gets some of the credit because I think Kenny and Crystal were a 1-2 punch. I think people like to say, "Oh, Kenny, he's the brains," But you look at a lot of the conversations where they're convincing people that Crystal is always in there. Crystal is always in them.
Yeah, they were a great duo, and they never turned on each other. Even when Kenny went out, when Crystal went out, Kenny didn't vote for her. I do enjoy them as a duo. I remember not liking Crystal the first few times I watched the season, and she's still not my favorite. But like, I could say the same thing about Randy, where I remember hating Randy the first time I watched the season. It's like, no, I get it. I get Randy. I get why. I get what he's doing. I don't think that he's like a huge dickhead. It's ironic because I tweeted out at Final 9 or Final 10. Mm-hmm. I really relate to Randy. And then that tribal council happens at Final 9 where he's saying a lot of questionable things to Crystal. And I'm like, oh, yes. Okay, maybe I'll back out on this for a little bit because I didn't read the room. But these characters are fun enough where I don't want to see any of them again. And sadly, we get 2 of them. But I feel like in a season like this, they all play their roles well. There is no miscast person on this season, except for maybe Purple Kelly, the OG Purple Kelly. Right. I mean, it's not an all-time great newbie cast, but what do you think that you can remove a certain person or people from this cast and then we still get what we get, or do you think it has to be these folks?
I think the only person that you could swap out is Kelly.
She's lame. Like she's just there. Even Paloma has when she gets
had attitude. Paloma was fun. Like I wanted to see Paloma go further.
Jack, oh my gosh, I'm annoyed that I don't remember.
I don't know what the casting producers saw in her. I really don't.
And Kelly,
yeah,
she's just very bland. I almost started calling her Pout Face 2.0, which Pout Face, for anyone who listens, I'm talking about Amanda. But Kelly had Pout Face 2.0 to the point where it's like, how is she still here? How does she make it as far as she does? And I don't know how we've totally forgotten to talk about this person. Ace. Not an Ace guy. This time around, I didn't realize how much his accent goes in and out, depending on the
really
situation. I think the reunion is talking about Crystal right now, but I know in a little bit.
But they call Ace out on his accent.
Yeah, they're talking. Yes, right now they're literally talking about Ace right now. Thoughts on Ace? Would you put him in the Marcus Charlie category, or would you put him in the chaotic Gabon category?
I would put him in the chaotic Gabon category, but I will say that, like, as far as strategically goes, Ace didn't really do that much wrong, right? In fact, I think Sugar made the absolute wrong move cutting him there over, Kenny and Crystal, who were strategically...
Credit to Kenny and Crystal once again, though.
And they did a great job there. But Ace was, gonna keep Sugar. Ace was never gonna cut Sugar. Thought he could beat Sugar. So like, I thought that was a bizarre move. I think Ace was obviously cocky. Ace was a lot to deal with, but you know, he wasn't as annoying as like a Coach or a Phillip. Like he was annoying, but he never overtook your TV to such a large extent where you're like, I can't
No.
handle this anymore. He was good enough of a pre-merge. I think maybe if he got to the final three, I would be like, oh fuck Ace. But like where he stands, it was a good enough TV character.
Yeah, and this is a credit to this season. The edit is very even with almost everyone except for Kelly. Like everyone is getting screen time. You know all of these people. You have enough time with all these people. I feel like everyone's getting confessionals. I mean, I don't look at confessional sheets that closely, but I would assume that the highest confessional count person in this season is not so drastically higher than the second or third or fourth. I feel like everyone is spread out enough that we care whether we don't like them or like them. We care about these people and we want to see them on our TVs. And I think that is a credit to the editing staff with this season. But on the other end of that, this is basically Survivor Guatemala in HD as far as storytelling. As far as there's no real coherent storyline with this season. Every episode just kind of has its own mini story, but it's not really, with Cook Islands, we have the I-24, versus Raro Tribe. With Fiji, we have Dreams, Cassandra, Earl versus the world, and Yall Man versus the world. China even, we have Todd and Amanda and Courtney steamrolling everyone. With this season, it's just like, okay, so this episode we're going to focus on Randy. Cool. Oh, next episode.
I would say you've got the first arc, which is the downfall of Fong. Then you have the overtaking of the onions. And lastly, you have Bob sneaking his way to the finale. So I think you divide it into those, 3 chunks.
Yes, and I can give you that. And I feel like that those are the arcs of the season. But for me, watching it, if there was something that took me out of it a little bit, and it wasn't much that took me out of the season on the rewatch, I promise you, it was the fact that, I knew that I had to be paying attention episode by episode because I knew that the storyline was not going to be the same every single time. And
Right.
I guess it could be a negative or a positive.
For me, it's a positive, and I would go back to the point where you said there was a while where you were like agreeing with Randy the most, and that's the thing where I like it. This season had really complex edits for people where nobody was like always a villain or always a hero. Crystal, for instance, sometimes she was saying some of the most relatable stuff about the other people on her tribe, and sometimes she's a complete lunatic. Randy, sometimes complete logic, sometimes a lunatic. Corinne, same thing. Sugar, same thing. Kenny, sometimes he's being such a great strategist, and sometimes he's just horny 24/7, like Michelle Chase.
There are 3 women on this cast at one point or another that he's like, oh, she's sexy or blah, blah, blah. And, I feel like Sugar tried to get Kenny's vote at the end by saying, oh, yeah, I feel like I hurt Kenny the most. When Maddie's sitting there basically begging her to say, hey, you hurt me when you just screwed me last night. And she can't, because Sugar doesn't care. Just, oh, Kenny. I feel like I hurt Kenny.
And Maddie's like, that's all you got? And
that's it. That's it for $1 million. This is what you're going to do. All of this. And I'm almost frustrated at how much I'm not a Gabon hater, but how much I haven't, appreciated it's almost like when I realize, oh, Abby Maria is not that bad. I enjoy Abby Maria, especially in Cambodia, where it's like, I get it. I get Abby Maria and I get her fans. I get Gabon now, and I get it's not an ironic like that people have for the season. I used to always think that it was. I'm not going to rate the season very high or anything like that, but as far as rewatchability, if I'm just looking to be entertained, I'd watch Gabon again, like right after 42. 42 is done. If I had to sit down and watch a season, I would put this on the list of seasons to potentially watch again. How many times have you
Yeah,
watched the
look,
season?
I've watched this season at least 6-7 times.
Okay. Okay.
I love this. I don't really care what people do. I would just say, please, for the love of God, put it above Thailand, put it above Redemption Island, put it above, Karamoan. This is
Yeah.
fun. It's fun. And like, yes, I think Randy at that one tribal council is, but it's not necessarily problematic in a big way,
It's
too.
not. It's just he's trying to be a dick, and
Yeah.
it's working. I don't believe he believed half the shit that he was saying in that moment, but what do I know? But I liked Randy this time. Not enough to be a villain on Heroes versus Villains, because like I said, I don't think anybody on this cast needed to have come back at any point. Maybe Corinne as a villain on Heroes vs. Villains potentially, but we get her for Karamoan, and it's like, okay, whatever. Let's see. I'm trying to go down the list of anything.
Let me mention one of my favorite challenges of all time, which is when Maddie and Randy just have to shoot the ball in a hole that's like just a feat.
Going based off what you were bringing up earlier about the scenery and the challenge, like the uniqueness of the challenges. There were a lot of shots that were over hills and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
The golf challenge was probably my favorite of the entire season, just because
it starts off with the epic gif of them reacting to Marcus come in.
Yes. But then no, you can't. No, just Maddie, just shoot. I got it, buddy. I got it. I love that challenge, and that's something that I don't feel like they could do in Fiji, because I feel like we've seen most of the landmarks that they can do challenges in Fiji in, and unless they just haven't shown us stuff, I feel like they don't have a location where they could do that challenge.
They don't, and they have that one challenge where they shoot the ball into the massive crater area. That was super interesting.
Or the blindfold. It was like golf with the
and they roll the ball down the hill.
Yeah,
and Randy was actually really. He's underrated in challenges. Randy carried, a lot of challenges in the pre-merge, surprisingly. Like, you don't expect Randy's going to do well in a lot of this
challenge,
stuff.
Like the lacrosse in a boat challenge.
He scored 3 points.
Yeah, I think he scored all of her points. Yes, Randy, very underrated physical threat. Something else that I feel like gets slept on, and I think once again it's because it's the Gabon effect.
Mm-hmm.
Bob is actually very good at physical challenges. Not since maybe Rafe in Guatemala did I just forget that
Bob got 3 wins.
Yeah, and he was winning all the rewards challenges towards the end of the game as well. Bob, and it wasn't like he was out there for most of the merge playing against slouches. I mean, everyone keeps hyping Maddie up to be this physical threat. I do feel like
Bob kicked his ass.
Yeah. Corinne wasn't, out of shape or whatever. Randy proved himself pre-merge. So I do feel like Bob was winning these challenges that even if people don't want to give him credit for strategy or social, which I feel like that's very disappointing that people feel that way, because I do feel like he had the social acumen to be at the bottom the entire merge and still be able to sit at the end. But also, and especially losing at Final Four and still somehow being able to sit at the end. But strategically, the fake idol number 1. Yes, I do feel like it was kind of a dick move, but I feel like he was just trying to get jury votes, whatever. Fake idol number 2, if it had worked, would be would have been all-timer moments. Yeah, because he got one person to flip, he got Kenny to flip. If he had got one other person to flip, then we're looking at this moment as another one of these big moments that happen, not only in just this season, but all time. I do feel like Bob's not like a moron, but let's just focus on physical game for a second. Even if people want to say the only reason he won is because he won his way, he won his way to the end until he didn't. Mike Holloway did the same thing, And I know that people, like to discredit that because of whatever, but you do what you need to do to get to the end, and fuck what these people say. So I do feel like Bob
Also,
did.
Brad Culpepper didn't win. Ozzy didn't win.
Colby didn't win. You know, all these people, all these actual physical threats can get to the end and still not win. This guy did it not only because of a physical acumen, but also strategy when he needed to ish.
Mm-hmm.
But really, the social game more than anything else, really, because they're all calling him out for kind of riding coattails toward the end, or like being Sugar's lapdog. It's like, yeah, so what? You guys don't like Sugar, so he almost did the Natalie White thing before Natalie White won. And
I think that's a great comparison.
Sugar to ruffle hands, God, but he could sit there and admit, yes, this is what I did, and you're probably still going to vote for me to win because you don't like her. And Sugar not doing herself any favors by saying, "Oh, I don't think I deserve to win $1 million." It's like, what are you talking about?
We're also still in an era. Yeah.
Huh?
We're also still in an era where camp matters, and Bob made benches. He helped at the shelter. He fished. He did so much stuff for the camp that really mattered to everybody.
He was
and
Wendell
that's a big social
Wendell.
game proponent.
Yes.
You remember when he looked like a chicken during the Final Five immunity challenge? He looked so freaking ridiculous with the yellow paint.
I look golden childs on TV. He annoyed the fuck out of me. I'm not a GC person.
But him boating off in the middle of nowhere and they all GC
5 minutes so gotta leave, and now they're interviewing Jack. Oh man, I really enjoyed doing this rewatch, and I feel like I'm not going to be able to say the same thing in a couple days after, once I enter the Dark Ages. I feel like I'm not going to. I feel like these are my last moments as a sane individual before I go into week 4 of my 42 and 42, where I'm hitting Redemption Island, South Pacific, One World, and all of those. But who won player of the season? Oh, Bob won.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
I like to say that I have my own holy trinity of what the fuck Survivor seasons of like, how the hell did this even happen? Gabon, Nicaragua, and Survivor South Africa season 6. If you want to watch an international season that is like Gabon in so many ways, Survivor South Africa season 6. How the hell did it happen? I have no idea, but that's the international disaster season that people need to watch.
I have only seen one season of Survivor South Africa that was the most recent one before the current one. Chapter first go around.
Right.
And I really enjoyed it. So I do want to go back and watch earlier seasons just to see what it's all about leading up to that one. Rating for the season, like I said, I can't actually rate the season high, but I will say that one, I'm rating it higher than Thailand and All Stars because that's not the craziest thing. I'm going to give it a 3.5. I was on the fence between 3.25 and 3.5. So I'm giving it basically the same that I gave Palau. But once again, I feel like I might actually like this one more than Palau. Palau is like my litmus test right now because it's fallen so much on a rewatch. Meanwhile, seasons like Gabon and Vanuatu, but Vanuatu's actually just good, go up for me. And it's because this season is just so chaotically entertaining to the point where it shouldn't work, and somehow it does. And then we get the next season with a few fun characters that I'm looking forward to talking to, I guess, that I feel like really piggybacks off of what we just got.
I would say that Palau has a stretch of episodes that are much more boring than any episode in Gabon. Gabon, you turn it on and no matter what, you're going to have a disaster happen and you can enjoy watching
boring episodes. I would say the most boring episode of this season for me, where I started to doze off, and it might be because it was late, was the finale. I was kind of bored through the finale, but whatever. I was bored through the Australia finale too. That's because that finale is actually just very boring.
Yes,
so I was bored.
I say Palau's worse. That's just me.
But other than that, like it was so easy to just breeze through this season today. I didn't want to take breaks. I just wanted to get through it. So 3.50. We're gonna have Gherman back in 3 days.
Yeah, for Nicaragua.
Nicaragua. Something tells me that at least I won't be as high on that one as I was on this one. But thank you all once again for tuning into this. Thank you for coming on such short notice for Gabon. I'm glad that you were able to share some of your love for the season. And we will see everyone after Survivor Token Chains.